You know, one of the things I hate? Fucking razors. Right? This bullshit right here. And the reason I hate it is because I can never remember which goddamn razor I bought when I go to the store. And that's how you wind up with a collection of this bullshit. Look at these cocksuckers. Right? And notice they've all got very different heads on them. So you buy the wrong razors, you're fucked. And razors are fucking expensive. Anyway, I've been meaning to do this video for a while. I haven't exactly figured out how to do it. And on top of that, some of you know I was planning on buying a new TV. And I finally bought the son of a bitch last week, which necessitated a spurious orgy of video game playing on my part. And so I've been gorging myself on this new 58-inch TV. In terms of the size and the, size and the dollar value and all that shit, it was about the best I could do. So I guess I'll start with what a couple of very smart people called the stages of change. And it was Prochaska and Di Clemente. I think maybe they came up with this about 1983. All right. And so I think they were looking at people who smoked cigarettes. And what they noticed was that people who quit smoking cigarettes, they all seem to go through similar stages. Oh, that's better. Look at that foam. Much better. All right. So the first stage is pre-contemplation, which means you're not even thinking about changing. You're happy with the way things are. And, you could kind of, whether you want to visualize smokers or somebody who's gambling or somebody who's doing drugs. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that negative. It could be somebody thinking about going back to university. It could be something like that, right? Somebody thinking about getting some exercise. That's fucking ridiculous. Even I will admit that this looks fucking ridiculous, but I'm used to shaving in a mirror. It's hard to shave into this bullshit, right? So in the first part, you're not even thinking about making a change. You're happy with the way things are. And then, I guess the analogy that I'm going to use is blue pill, what we would call a blue pill dude. And the next stage is contemplation. So you're aware that there's a problem, but as far as you're concerned, you're not changing a goddamn thing, right? So this is the point where you're going to generate the Nawalt arguments. Not all women are like that. You just haven't found the right one. That kind of bullshit. Right? So usually what has to happen is you have to go through some more shit before you really actively think, okay, maybe there really is a problem. If you're looking at something like booze, a guy has to go from, maybe showing up late for work to not being able to pay his rent to he gets a couple DUIs. At some point, he'll admit that maybe there's a problem. The next stage is preparation. So that's usually the research stage. So that's the point where if we're looking at the fat guy, he starts looking at gyms. He starts seeing what's around his area, how much it costs, that kind of thing. Maybe he buys some clothes, but he's intent on losing the weight. And he's probably talking about it. He's talking to people about it. He's checking out websites, that kind of thing. Now, at some point, he springs into action. So he actually starts going to the gym. And usually, this is the point, and idiots do this, this is the point where he's the obese man on the bicycle. And idiots will laugh at him because they're not aware that he's trying to change his life, and the change is not yet visible. Okay? And in addition to getting some exercise, he's starting to change some of his behavior. So he may do stuff. If he lives close enough, he may start walking to work instead of driving. If he takes the train, he may get off a stop early and walk the rest of the day. This is really hard to do. Not a mirror, a proper mirror. Anyway, right? So he's taking action. If he does it long enough, at some point, it becomes maintenance. Okay? He just has to keep doing what he's doing. Meaning he's gone to the gym enough times that he doesn't really have to think about it. You know, he just gets up, he goes. And usually at this point, he's also getting some positive reinforcement. People start to notice the change that's happening. You know, he's looking better, he's feeling better, he's buying different clothes, that kind of thing. Now, keep in mind, the change is not usually a straight line. Meaning, within that process, you have relapses. So he'll go through periods where he stops exercising. You know, we get home, you have a shitty day, he eat McCain's deep and delicious, that kind of shit. And every time a relapse happens, he has to make a decision as to whether he's going to go back to the old behavior or he's going to continue with the new behavior. Now, oh, as an aside, somebody bitched on one of my videos where I was shaving, and they were like, why the fuck would somebody want to watch a grown-ass man shave? Well, fucktard, I don't know if it occurred to you, but there are guys who grew up without dads, who never got the opportunity to watch their dad shave. I ain't saying I'm anybody's father, but I was lucky enough to be able to watch my dad shave when I was a little kid, and I found it fascinating. And I'm not saying a motherfucker's going to find me shaving fascinating, but I guarantee you there are fuckers watching this right now who are like, Jesus fuck, you're doing it all wrong. But hey, it's just the way I learned how to shave. So anyway, the cocksucker has relapses. And he has to make a decision whether he goes back to the old behavior or he continues with the new behavior. Now, with each relapse, he learns. You know, he learns, okay, stay out of the cakes and pies aisle. He learns he doesn't like broccoli, he's going to switch to kale. He learns, I like to get up in the morning and exercise instead of waiting till the end of the day. Right? And eventually, his behavior changes. So, here's the thing. It's only the people who have seen that transition who will understand the amount of work that he's put into changing his behavior. For somebody who has never met him and now meets the new in shape him, as far as they're concerned, he has always been like that. Okay? Hang on a sec. I got to grab a towel. Hang on. Okay? So, why did I tell you about all that shit? Okay? And those stages again, stages of change. PROTEUS and declemente, you can look it up. It's pre-contemplation, which means I ain't even thinking about changing. Contemplation, I think I need to make a change. Preparation, what the fuck do I need to do to make the change? Action, this is how I'm fucking changing. Maintenance, I think I like some of these changes. I'm going to keep fucking going. Relapse, why the fuck did I do that? And we start off back at the top with pre-contemplation, although usually as you're going through the cycle, you don't go back into pre-contemplation. And every time you move through that cycle, if you successfully make the change, you learn from those experiences. And as it also happens, very often we will move back and forth between stages, right? Between maintenance and action, preparation and contemplation, maintenance and relapse. So, why did I bring all this bullshit up, and how does it relate to the concept of MGTOW? Well, it relates in that I think that it's very similar in the sense that, you know, blue pill guy looks, sees what's going on, has to go through some bullshit, decides to jump on YouTube. He discovers guys like Stardust, Barbarossa, Spetsnaz, Sandman, Heartburn, Black Gnostic, what have you, Turd Flinging Monkey, etc. My apologies if I forgot anybody. You know, he actively begins to change his behavior, meaning, how do I change how I deal with my life with this new understanding? So, the reason I bring all that shit up is, number one, some people will say, well, how come MGTOW talk about women so much? If you guys just want to go, then go. Well, number one, people just like to talk. But it also has to do with the contemplation, pre-contemplation, and action phase, where very often people need to figure out what the fuck happened in their lives. And seriously, razor companies, you fucking suck. And they're also looking for confirmation, right? They want to know, am I the only motherfucker that went through this bullshit? And as they discover they're not the only motherfucker that went through this bullshit, they start to feel better. Okay? Now, at some point, you're faced with a problem. This doesn't just apply to MGTOW. It applies to when you're trying to make a change of behavior. Initially, one of the things that will help you change your behavior is freedom from. Right? So let's say, let's go back to the exercise example. Why is a fat guy starting to exercise? Well, he wants freedom from being out of breath. He wants freedom from not being able to fit into his pants. He wants freedom from feeling like people are snickering behind his back. You know, he wants freedom from eating so much crap food. And initially, that will get somebody into the gym. And it will get them to start working out. But it won't stick in the long term. Okay? Eventually, he has to go to the other side of the equation, which is freedom 2. When he's in the maintenance phase and he doesn't feel like exercising, he doesn't feel like eating a salad, he doesn't feel like getting on his bike, he has to think about freedom 2, meaning I'm going to get some exercise because I want the freedom to go hiking next week. I want the freedom to put on these new clothes that I've been able to buy that look better on me. I want the freedom to go for a jog, or to be able to feel better physically, mentally, to be able to get a better night's sleep. Whatever it is, he has to go with what's important to him. Now, the reason I bring this up is that I've heard some people talk about, man, you know, just talking about the same shit over and over and over and over. You know, okay, nobody wants to get married. Okay, nobody wants to live with a woman. Okay, nobody wants to go through a shitty divorce. Okay, nobody wants to be able to see their kids. That's the first bit, the freedom from. But the second bit, the freedom to, takes a lot more work. And it's really an existential question. Okay? So you want the freedom to fucking do what? You know, what do you want to do? Do you want to just sit around and play video games? Because you can have the freedom to do that. Hang on a second. If that's the freedom you want. Do you want the freedom to pay off your debts? You know, I mean, for me, one of the things I like the fucking freedom to stay home on a fucking Friday night. I will stay home like a motherfucker. You know, got my new TV, got a ton of video games, got a ton of books, got a fucking ton of movies. I can FaceTime anybody I need to talk to. I like to stay home in a fucking heartbeat. Right? That's part of my freedom too. And believe it or not, another part of my freedom too is the freedom to shut the fuck up. Right? Meaning when I go out in the wider world, a lot of times I ain't saying a goddamn thing. I ain't got shit to say. You know? And people come up and say, oh, it's a nice day. Did you see the game yesterday? Wow, that's fucking amazing. He threw the bat. Wow. I don't give a solid rat fuck. So I don't say anything. Right? I want the freedom to do what the fuck I want to do. That's really, really important to me. Like, the night I made the last video, I decided, okay, I'm going to go out to the bar. I'm going to have a quick drink while I'm waiting for the video to upload. As I'm leaving the bar, there's 3 people in front of me, 2 guys and a girl. I'm trying to walk by them, and the girl goes, high five? And I looked at her and I said, nah, I'm good. And she was like, you're not going to high five me? I'm like, no, I'm good. Because honestly, I was in my own head. I wanted the freedom to just stay in my own fucking head. And she said, oh, well, you look nice. I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm still going. And so as I pull alongside one of the guys, he goes, oh, hey, man, I remember you from a couple weeks ago. Hey, I'm Dan. He stuck his hand out. I shook his hand, you know. I said, hey, I'm Paul. What's going on? And behind me, I hear, oh, so you'll shake his hand, but you won't give me a high five? That's sexist. Ha! I'm thinking to myself, this fucking crazy carpet right here. And you know what I did? Nothing. I didn't say a fucking word. Because I want the freedom to do that. Fuck this crazy carpet. Right? Just because you asked me for a high five doesn't mean I have to give you a motherfucking high five. Now, some people might say, well, it's just a high five. How come you didn't just give her the high five, man? What's the big deal? The big fucking deal was this. Her fucking ass was drunk and sloppy, and I didn't want to do the interview. All the high five really represented was, give me a high five so I can start telling you about my pointless fucking life. And I didn't want to hear about her goddamn bullshit. Right? So that's why I stay with MGTOW. Because I want the freedom to be able to stay home. I want the freedom to have peace and quiet. I want the freedom to spend my money the way I want to spend my money. And I want the freedom to be able to shut the fuck up if I want to shut the fuck up. So, I guess the point is this. When guys move from freedom from to freedom to, it's only natural that some of them are going to stop making videos. Because they don't need to talk about the shit over and over and over and over, because they've already internalized it. And now they're moving into the parts of their life that they want to get into. So if a guy's into engineering, well, now he's going to go into engineering forums. He might go back to school, whatever the fuck he wants to do. He's going to go off and do that. Some other guy might want to get healthy. He'll go off, he'll do that. Somebody might just decide to buy The Witcher 3 like I almost bought today. I changed my mind. I'm going to finish Watch Dogs. I know a lot of you hate that game, but I kind of like it. Right? You want the freedom to do that. And remember what I was saying about the fat guy who, if somebody didn't know he went through that transition and he didn't tell them, they would never know he was that fat guy. In the same way, some MGTOW guys are just going to go and they're just going to do their own thing. And a lot of people aren't going to see, most people aren't going to know about the underlying driver. They're not going to know that the reason that they're looking at his life going, wow, I can't believe this guy's doing all this incredibly cool shit. They're not going to know it's because he went, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not getting ass raped in divorce court. I'm not fucking getting ass raped in prison because I got thrown in prison because of non-payment of child support. I'm not fucking moving in with another woman so I could watch her go from elegant to elephant over a period of fucking years, and then she could throw my ass out, and I'm leaving with my work tools and a duffel bag full of clothes, and she gets to keep everything in the fucking apartment. I'm not doing that. They don't see that as a fucking driver. All they see is this guy has a cool life. So here's what I think. Eventually, with MGTOW, guys are just going to move out and they're going to do their own life. And if they meet a guy who's in that cycle of change and he's in the contemplation stage, the preparation stage, the action stage, then he'll talk to him and say, well, this is what I fucking went through. But for a lot of guys, they're just going to get on with their fucking lives. You know? And that's all they're going to do. So I'm sorry that this video took so long. Number one, you know, I'm sorry it took so long, number one. And number two, thanks for your patience. Let me know what you guys think. And Xbox, volume up. Perfect. All right. MGTOW. Oh, okay. There's one more thing I wanted to say. It's possible to get stuck in the freedom from stage, which is what will happen if you don't go through the contemplation of asking yourself, what do I want? And to me, it's part of the reason I don't pay attention to feminism anymore, because women, hey, you're strong, independent, capable, I see you every damn day, you can do what you want. But part of the reason that if you're asking yourself, hang on a second, sometimes I just think this bullshit is crazy, complaining about manspreading, complaining about mansplaining, all kinds of like nitpicky bullshit, is because they're stuck in the freedom from, right? Because what's the basis for feminism, really? We're better than men. That's the basis. So they're stuck in bitching about men. They're stuck in bitching about men, and they aren't going to make the transition to what's so great about women. Okay, we're women, we're fabulous, what do we want to do? Because that shit is a lot harder, and as we know, and if you don't know, women like consensus. Right? And I don't think they can reach enough consensus to say, all right, this is what's fabulous about fucking women, and we're just going to go forth and we're going to do that. Right? Which is why people like Anita Sarkeesian aren't going to venture capitalists and saying, I want $50 million to set up a women's video game company and we're going to make video games for women. Because that shit is hard. That requires a freedom too. That is way fucking harder than going and bitching to the United Nations and saying, please change the internet. All right? So, anyway, sorry. Sorry the shit took so long. And, yeah, I don't know. The only other thing is I'm waiting for two things. I'm waiting for YouTube Gaming Canada, because I really want to start a gaming channel. And the other thing I'm waiting for, we're still waiting in Canada for the Gregory Allen Elliott verdict. This is the guy who was charged with harassment over Twitter. We're still waiting for that bullshit. So as soon as that comes out, I'll let you know. All right? Okay. McToe. Man up? How about man out? All right, baby, drive that bitch. Yeehaw!